All right, folks, continuing on with our work with like terms, we are going to do some problems today where we simplify by using like terms that are maybe a bit longer and a bit more complicated. So here is the first example that I want to do with you. Let's do 5a minus 2 plus 4b minus 3 minus 7a plus b plus 10 plus 12a minus 10b. And I guess I'll have to quit there because I'm out of room. Now, I want you to notice today you are going to be copying these problems onto your own paper and working them. So I want you to notice that as I wrote this problem on the board, I was careful to space the terms out so that I had some room to work. And when you're copying these problems to your own paper today, I think it's important that you do the same. Give the terms some room. So space them out a little bit on your paper. Now what you'll notice is that this particular problem has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 terms. Now 9 terms is a lot. This problem stretches all the way across the board. So what I want to do is use this idea of like terms to make this simpler, to see if I can combine the like terms and make this problem shorter. So here's what we'll do. We'll start up front, start at the very beginning of the problem with our first term. Now here's where I would suggest that you look around the house and you find yourself some different colored pens, some different colored pencils, highlighters, whatever you have available to you, so that you can use those to help you mark your like terms. So I'm going to start out with the color red, and I am going to put a red box around my first term, which is 5a. Now you'll notice the coefficient for that term, which is the number part, is a 5. The variable part of this term is just an a. So that A is his last name. So what I want to do now is look through these other 8 terms and see if anybody else has that last name of A. So I've got a -2, a plus 4B, a -3, a -7A. That has a last name of A. So I'm going to put a red box around him. And I want you to notice that I'm not just getting 7A, I'm getting that negative sign that's in front of him because that belongs to him. I have a plus B, a plus 10, a plus 12A. There's another term that has a last name of A, so I'm going to put a red box around him as well, and then a minus 10B. So I have identified in my first trip through this problem 3 terms that have the same last name. They all have a last name of A. So I'm going to combine all of those 3 terms and make one term out of them. To combine them, I work with the number parts. So I have 5 minus 7 plus 12. 5 minus 7 plus 12. And here's where you might want to grab your calculator to help with this. So 5 minus 7 is a -2, and a -2 plus 12 is a positive 10. So if I do 5 minus 7 plus 12, I'm going to get 10. So I'm going to write that down. And then remember that when we combine like terms, we keep the last name. We keep whatever the last name is the same. So all of those had a last name of A. We're going to keep that last name of A. Now, since this problem is a little bit longer, if you wanted to then, you could go through and cross all of these off. So you know you've already dealt with those and you don't need to look at them anymore. So that would be a suggestion as well. Now, I'm going to switch colors because I'm going to go for a brand new set of like terms. So I'm going to come over here to the very next term that hasn't been dealt with, which is a -2, a -2. And I'm going to put a blue box around -2. Now, what you'll notice about -2 is that he doesn't have a last name. So I want to put blue boxes around every term in this problem that does not have a last name. So -3, doesn't have a last name. Plus 10 doesn't have a last name. And that looks like that's all of them. So there are all of the terms that don't have a last name. That makes them alike. And again, I can combine all three of those into one by working with these numbers. So this says I'm going to do a negative 2 minus 3 plus 10. So there's what I would type into my calculator. I would type in a negative 2 minus 3 plus 10. A negative 2 minus 3 is a negative 5, and then a negative 5 plus 10 would be a positive 5. So I'm going to put plus 5. Plus 5. I put a plus because he is positive. Positives get pluses. All right, so now, again, if you want to, this is not a have to. If you want to, you can mark all three of those out so you know you've dealt with those and that's over. All right, going to switch colors again. I'm going to go back through and see if I can identify another set of like terms. So the very next term that I have not dealt with is plus 4b, positive 4b. Remember to catch that sign that's in front of the term when you draw the box around it. So this term has a last name of b. So I want to put in a green box any other terms up here that also have a last name of b. This guy has a last name of b. Can you remember what his coefficient is? Because I don't see it. Coefficient should be a 1. And I'm going to write that in there because that'll help me. And then the other term up here that has a last name of b is this minus 10b or negative 10b that we see out on the end. So again, notice three terms in the green boxes, and I can combine those. I can make one term out of those. And to do that, what I'm going to do is go through and work with these coefficients, with these numbers. So I'm going to do a positive 4 plus 1 minus 10. A positive 4 plus 1 minus 10 is how I'm going to combine those three. So positive 4 plus 1 would be 5, and then 5 minus 10 would be a negative 5. So I'm going to put minus 5, and the minus is because it is negative, and then remember to keep the same last name. So the last name should be B. So right here should be my final answer. So I want you to notice how much simpler that is. We have gone from 9 terms down to 3 by combining the ones that are alike. So that's the whole purpose in knowing about like terms, is that they give us a way to simplify problems that are more complicated than they need to be. Okay, let's take a look at this one. We're going to start with 5xy squared. So notice, last name is a little more complicated this time. Minus 4 plus 3xy plus 8x squared y squared minus 11xy squared plus 9 minus 4xy minus 10x squared y squared. And again, I think at that point, I've put as many terms in this problem as I can fit on this board, so I'm going to stop there. Now, let's look at how many terms we have. We have 5xy squared, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is a problem that has 8 terms. We are going to attempt to simplify by combining some of these terms that are alike. So one of the things I want to point out as we start to do this problem is that a lot of the last names up here are similar to each other. Remember that to be like terms, the variable part has to equal the variable part. They have to be identical, so keep that in mind as we're doing this problem. So I'm going to start out with red. and I'm going to put a box around that first term. So the first term, we always just go ahead and put a box around him. Now I want you to look carefully and think about what the last name is. What is the variable part of that term? And the answer is, the variable part is x, y squared. So any like term for this guy is going to have that exact same last name. So x, y squared. So let's look. Let's find others that have that. -4 doesn't. Plus 3xy doesn't. He's missing the square on the y. Plus 8x squared y squared doesn't, because the x is squared. We don't want that. We want just the y to be squared. -11xy squared. This will do it because it has the x, it has the y squared, just like that term that I have boxed up there. So I'm also going to give him a red box. Notice when I draw my red box, I catch this minus sign as well. That sign in front of the term belongs to him. You've got to take it with him. Doesn't have the same last name. xy won't work. x squared y squared won't. So that's it. These two terms that I have in red are the only two that I can combine for right now. Now, to combine them, let's work with our numbers. Do what it says. It says to do 5 minus 11. 5 minus 11 is what we're going to do. So if I do 5 minus 11, I get -6. So let's write -6 on our paper. And then remember, we want to keep the same last name. So the last name for both of these had an x and a y squared. So -6xy squared is what I get when I combine the two terms that are in the red boxes. Cross them off if you want to. Well, I can't get mine to cross off. Cross them off so you know you've dealt with those. Those are done. Okay, switch colors. We're going to get a brand new set of like terms. So I'm going to come up here to the very next term that I haven't boxed yet. So I'm boxing a -4, a -4. So notice again how I'm grabbing that sign with the term. Everything in the problem should end up in one of the boxes, including those signs. So -4. Now notice, he does not have a last name. So now you're looking at these other terms that haven't been boxed yet to see who doesn't have a last name. And the only one I see that doesn't have a last name is this +9. +9. So I'm going to put him in a box as well. So these two terms can combine and become 1. So to combine them, let's work with the numbers. We're going to do a -4 plus 9. Plus 9. Now if I do a -4 plus 9, I get a +5. A -4 plus 9 is a +5. So I want to write +5 on my paper. So I put +5 on my paper. Now notice the two terms that I just combined didn't have last names. So this +5 isn't going to have a last name either. Now I can mark those two off my list and continue on. Okay, so new color. I'm going to box my very next term, which is +3xy, +3xy. He has a last name that is just an x and a y, no exponents. So I'm looking for a last name that is identical to that, just an x, just a y, no exponents. So when I look, the only other one I see that is like that is this guy, -4xy. So a -4xy. So the two that I have in green boxes are now going to combine. So let's work with our numbers. You have a +3 -4. So if I do a +3 -4, I get a -1. A -1. So I'm going to write a -1 on my paper. +3 -4 is a -1, so I'm going to write a -1 on my paper. Now what last name does this -1 get? Well, it gets the same last name as the two terms that just combined. So xy. Now I want you to remember something here. When the coefficient is a 1, like we have here, that 1 can be invisible. So we could actually erase that 1. He is not needed in this problem. But we get a -1 xy. All right, we're doing a good job here. I only see two terms we haven't dealt with. So let's grab another color. And let's get our next term, which is plus 8 x squared y squared. Positive 8 x squared y squared. So we're looking for a last name that is identical to that, x squared y squared. This guy on the end has that, x squared y squared. So I'm also going to put kind of a purple box around him. So it's minus 10 x squared y squared. Get that sign with your term. That's really, really important. Now, let's combine these two. Let's combine these two. All right, to combine these two, we're going to work with our numbers. We're going to do a positive 8 minus 10. A positive 8 minus 10. Now, if I do a positive 8 minus 10, I'm going to get a negative 2. So I'm going to put negative 2 on my paper. Minus 2. What last name should that negative 2 get? Well, he should get the same last name as the two terms that I am combining, which was x squared y squared. So notice, we never change last names. We keep those the same. So this should be my answer. We were able to go from, what did we have, 8 terms, down to 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've cut the number of terms in half. So as you're writing the problems on your paper today, please remember to space them out. Please get yourself some colored pens, colored highlighters, whatever you have around the house that you can mark your like terms with, and do that. I think that will help you. Let me know if you have any questions. You all have a good day.